What's up, Spartacus here, back for another Hearthstone Top 10 Arena Edition. So today I will be saying my picks for the top 10 uncommon cards in Arena. So uncommon cards are the ones with the little silver circle in the middle. Get them in packs mostly. You guys know this stuff. You're going to see a lot of these in Arena. They're up against other common cards or uncommon cards, and you're going to find most of your picks are going to be between these in Arena, and these are the top 10 in a vacuum. So it's your first pick of the draft. Which one of these cards are you going to pick? We're not even thinking about class here, just on their own. Which of these cards are the best? So let's kick it off right now with number 10. Number 10 is a card introduced in GVG, the Force Tank Max. So the Force Tank Max is a 8-mana 7/7 with Divine Shield. This is basically the big boy. The big boy in Arena. This is one of the best late game cards. So if you compare this to Boulderfist Ogre, it obviously costs 2 more, but this can kill a Boulderfist Ogre and still be a 7/7, which is incredible. I mean, another big card, War Golem, which is 1 mana less, is the same stats but without the Divine Shield. And while a lot of cards or classes have ways to deal 1 damage, the only one that can really get rid of a Divine Shield without hurting themselves from this card is the Mage. I mean, a Rogue or a Druid running their face into this to get rid of the shield is really, really painful for them. So basically, that shield is a real nuisance sometimes, and if it's on the field against something else that's big, it can trade with it for free if you can't get rid of that shield. It's a very threatening card to come down, and a lot of the times in Arena, people simply don't have a way to remove this card. So, great card, and it slots in at number 10. Number 9 is the Goblin Auto Barber. So the Goblin Auto Barber is another GVG introduced card. It's a 2-mana 3/2 mech for Rogue that has a battle cry, give your weapon +1 attack. This card basically allows Rogues to completely take over the early game. They've always done a good job in the early game because their hero power is so efficient, dealing 2 damage for 2 mana in comparison to all other hero powers. But this, I mean, if you have the coin especially, you coin out a dagger on turn 1, then you play this on turn 2, you already have a 2 attack weapon, and you immediately just take over the game. This is just, it's so great to get that weapon buff, and especially you can even put this on Assassin's Blade or a Perdition's Blade or something like that to make even more power. Basically, if you want to look at it a certain way, this card is a 2-mana 3/2 that deals 2 damage, because you can tack it onto a weapon that usually has 2 durability, or sometimes you have to, you need that extra 1 damage and you have like a dagger with 1 durability up. You throw it on, it can make trade so much better. Very useful card, very efficient card, very powerful card. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is the Piloted Shredder, the king of 4 drops in Constructed currently, and also pretty damn good in Arena. 4 mana 4/3 mech with a Death Rattle, summon a random 2-cost minion. So this is just so good in Arena because 4 attack can take out so many things, and also it's so sticky. So people kill it and then they have to deal with the body, but sometimes they can't, and then you have that body gets priority sometimes, so it basically has charge. So Death Rattle we know is really powerful because just the stickiness, it's so difficult and annoying to get rid of your board. You'll always have something on board with this card, and in general 4 drops in Arena are really powerful. It's really what you want. You want a lot of 4 drops, and this is probably the most powerful. At least it's the most powerful neutral 4-drop minion in the game. Okay, slotting in at number 7 is the Dark Cultist. Dark Cultist is a 3-mana 3/4 priest minion that has a Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion +3 health. So 3-mana 3/4 by itself is already really strong. Spider Tank is a really strong card, and this is a 3-mana 3/4 that also has a pretty strong Death Rattle if it lands on something. I mean, give a random minion +3 health in priest especially, because then you can use that health and heal it up and keep your minions alive, is insanely powerful. You can coin this out in turn 2, and then it doesn't die immediately, because if you coin out in turn 2, usually it's tough for them to deal with it immediately. And then you can play something else to make sure that this dies when there's something else on board. You are really far ahead. The 3/4 stats are just fantastic. and the Death Rattle is even better. Very, very powerful card. Okay, number 6. Number 6 is Death's Bite, the warrior weapon that's 4 mana with 4 attack and 2 durability, with the Death Rattle deal 1 damage to all minions. Basically, this is like the warrior true silver champion. Turn 4, so many things come down with 4 health, or on turn 3, like that Dark Cultist you just saw, so many things come down with 4 health. It's just so nice to be able to 2-for-1 them with a weapon. Very powerful to have that on turn 4. And then also you have that Death Rattle, so you can kill things on your second swing that have 5 health, which is really nice for clearing things like Yetis that come down on turn 4, for example. So it's just very, very powerful. And also you can use that Death Rattle to your advantage. I mean, you can trigger other things, because warriors do have a lot of cards that can require them taking damage. And it's just very powerful, 2-for-1 all the time trading card. Very versatile, and Death's Bite is, just comes at number 6, and it's well worth it. Number 5 is the Dark Iron Dwarf. Dark Iron Dwarf is, before like any of the expansions, Dark Iron Dwarf is what I consider to be the best 4-drop in the game, unless your deck was really full of late game. But for most part, either this or the Yeti, and I would take the Dark Iron Dwarf over it in most cases. 4 mana, 4/4, so, mediocre body, but the battle cry, give a minion +2 attack this turn, is incredibly strong in Arena. Arena is a minion trading game, basically. It's about which minions can get the best trades off. So if you have like a 2/3 on the field, and they bring down their 4/4, you play this, your 2/3 trades up, and then you have a board with just a 4/4, and it's clean, and you get initiative. This card is, if you have any minions on the board in the early game, this card could just win you the game a lot of the time. That trade that it can get off, that +2 that allows you to trade up, is sometimes just devastating for your opponent, and they can't recover. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is one of my favorite new cards, new GVG, so guess a couple months old, is the Tinker's Sharpsword Oil, the 4 mana card that gives your weapon +3 attack, and if you combo it, gives a random minion +3 attack. So this card has basically revolutionized the way that you can play Rogue in Arena. You can be really, really, really aggressive with this card now. I've had an Arena run recently with 2 of these, and as soon as I got one, I just put it on one of my minions and one of my weapons, and it just started swinging face. And then, I mean, you just start swinging face, and you can beat them down really quickly. It allows a class to have burst in Arena, which is fairly rare. Usually you don't see that. I mean, sometimes you can see the combo in a Druid every now and then in Arena, but that's an epic card. Tinker's Sharpsword Oil on its own is burst. So people have to be really careful when there's a rogue and they have 12 health. It's kind of like a mage now. Like, mages are always like, they've always had the burst with the fireballs and stuff like that. But so you've always like watched out. You're like, oh, maybe they have a fireball in their head. Now with Tinkers, this is essentially 4 mana for 9 damage. And if your minion can attack more than once, it's more than that. That's insane. If you can put this on an Assassin's Blade, you can just basically win the game as long as you're quick enough. Like, the burst with this is incredible, and not only that, but putting it on your weapon for clearing it out, you get a 4 attack weapon basically, is really, really good. So, Tinker's Sharpsword Oil slots in at number 4. Okay, the top 3. Number 3 is Velen's Chosen. Velen's Chosen has basically made Priest a really powerful Arena class. Like, before, it was not so much. They got Dark Cultists, they got a little bit better in Arena, and then Velen's Chosen has put it over the top. This card is just incredible in Arena. If you can get anything to stick on the first 2 turns, which is very likely if you plan it out correctly, then you Velen's Chosen one of your minions, it attacks, and the next turn you can heal it up, and you can basically just take complete control of the board on turn 3. And once in Arena, a Priest gets control of the board, it's very tough to get it back from them, because most hero powers only do 1 damage, or they, don't do enough. And the hero power for Priest heals for 2. So that's double a lot of the things. So having a minion with high health alive early on an empty board is incredibly powerful. Not to mention the fact that you get the spell power. So this buff card, turn 3 buff, is incredibly powerful. It's the reason why Shattered Sun Cleric is so powerful. It's the same thing. Turn 3 buff, sometimes you just can't beat it, and this card can just win you games. Okay, number two is the Shielded Minibot, the 2/2 Paladin card with Divine Shield. This little guy is, in my opinion, the best 2-drop in the game. I mean, on its own at least, without any synergy. This thing is insane. You throw this thing down on turn 2, it might just win you the game. No synergy, no anything. Just this card can just win you the game, because if they have a 3/2 out, suddenly it trades for it, and then you still have the 2/2 body, and then it can take out, something else they have. On turn 2, to have a minion that will trade 2 for 1 or 1.5 for 1 all the time, having that early on gives you such a increase in the early game, such a tempo increase in the early game, that sometimes your opponent just can't catch up from that, just from playing this on turn 2. Like, a lot of the time, like, you'll go up against a mage and you'll play this, and they won't be able to play any minions because they can't have this trade into it just by removing the Divine Shield. So they'll just ping off the Divine Shield. And suddenly you come back to yourself on turn 3 and you have a 2/2 out and they have nothing out. And you now throw down your next minion and you have 2 minions out on turn 3 and they have nothing. That's an incredible place to be really early on, and Shielded Minibot alone allows for that. So number 1, the best uncommon card in Arena is Zombie Chow. Zombie Chow is the 1 mana 2/3 with the Death Rattle, restore your health to your enemy hero. Who cares about the Death Rattle? It doesn't matter on turn 1. In Arena, health, it's a minion trading game. It's about having that board early, getting that board early and making the best trades. And Zombie Chow is the king of this. Zombie Chow is the only 1-drop in the game that has 2 attack and 2 health at least. Every other 1-drop in the game has a 1 in either the attack or the defense column. It's the only one that does that. Now in Arena is so aggressive, having a 1-drop is so insanely powerful. You can take out any other crappy little 1-drops they have. You can take out any 2-drops with this. Sometimes your opponent won't want to play their 2-drop. They can't play any of their 2/2 because this just trades with it for free. On turn 1, this is the best. Especially if you don't have the coin, if you're going first. Turn 1, I mean, your opponent might just have to pass. Think about it like that. Like, you play this, and then it's your opponent's turn 1. They can't play anything. So they pass it back to you. Then you play your 2-drop, and you're ahead on board. And you're ahead on board before they can even make a decision. You are way ahead on board, like 2 minions to 0. And this card is just so good at controlling the board early. It is a staple in a lot of 12-win decks, and there's a reason why. It's just those stats cannot be beat at that price. So these were my top 10 uncommon Arena cards. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Subscribe and like for more of these lists coming your way soon. And until next time, I'm Spartacus. I'll see you later.